My feedback is quite simple. I see that the major supply customer will be probably TMB and some other smaller ones. Knowing that TMB has a research unit, what will be avoiding that once you present to them and they just put a team at work and replicate exactly what you are doing and using it without telling you anything. I have a life experience that happened in other industries, and you are left with nothing. So there is something to work out on that. For me, it's a major point, because if you don't trigger in TMB, then I don't see the other will ever follow you to believe in your product. That's all.
I think it's a very good presentation. You have a good flow. You really put a lot of time on mentioning what is a commercial method. It's really done. Also, you try to do the comparison between the commercial method as well as what is a solution. I think that's brilliant as well. There are certain things that I would think need more information. You did mention earlier that it's cost a lot of money, accident and so on. From me, I'm not from the power point of view. I do not see how serious is the effect. So what I'm expecting some kind of pictures or video or studies from newspaper. For example, a picture of station burning, for example. I'm not sure you get that. If you can have that, then I think it's going to give me a big impact at least. Then also looking into the product, I think you have a good description of the product, how it works there is nicely done. But from that point as well, very quickly, I go into very detail, it's still a prototype, it's still a concept. So I just wondering whether is it really working? But from an IT background, I think that is possible because smartphone is very easily integrated. But again, before I really invest my money, I want to see a real prototype before I really making that decision. The last part is I think you did a good job as well. Initially, when you put a 50,000, I have a lot of questions. Why 50,000? Then quickly you put comparison. You say current is about 40,000. I think that's a good one. But then you say this price is 10 years ago, so that raises another question back again. Because looking into that device is quite simple to me, but of course there's a lot of patented part and safety issue. That price should be reasonable. But then again, I think maybe the limit to justify the current price rather than the price 10 years ago. And I'm not sure whether you should use the term of a return of investment. You mentioned about save the money, but I think in business probably most of them use return of investment. I'm not too sure about what is the right term. Maybe ICC can answer something. That's my comment.
I think we just need a little refresher course for you. I counted only 16 butts in that talk.
Okay, I would, yes, because I can see a lot of improvement in terms of the presentation itself. From the first, Zul presented it at ICC last year until today, there's a lot of improvement, and I can easily understand through this presentation what he is trying to do and what he is trying to sell. And then, on behalf of ICC, I can see that they need help in terms of preparing the prototype before they can proceed with moving forward the more consolidation and so on. And in terms of the business model, saying that you said you're going to throw out the Samsung S4, then that will be a good point for TNB or potential customer, because that will attract them to your business model. Because we have an experience before with SMS package with the Sylvia, where you need to pay the ticket or the coupon for parking by using SMS, right? So they're giving out some portable device to the operators with the package and so on to monitor the parking system and so on. So it will attract the user to use to buy your product and so on. And furthermore, we have a collaboration with Samsung, where if we need to buy a volume from this vendor. so we can have a good price for it, and we can reduce the cost. And then, as you mentioned, we have a substation at UTM now, and we can always develop, we can always try the prototype there as the first step, and we can link you that with Pejabat Cabinet so that we can have a trial there, and other collaborators that we can guide you through the process and so on. And last time there's a company have an interest to this product in terms of to bring it to the market and so on. But after looking at this presentation, I believe we can go our own rather than be a partner with that company, right? And that's my comment, and then that's why I vote yes.
Great, thank you, Arham. Can you get that over to Janet, and let's find
No,
out what...
I actually like to go last, because then I can just summarize this, okay?
Okay.
Because then I just do it all at once.
Brian, you want to go next?
And you guys give such good detailed feedback, it saves me all that work.
Dr. Jewell, thank you for coming into Phillip Capital today. Very interesting problem and very interesting solution. And with just a little bit more progress and a little bit more detail, I might have committed to investing, but I'm not quite there yet. You really hooked me in the early part of the presentation, and I clearly understood the problem you were trying to attack. I had not realized that there was a difference between lightning protection for buildings and lightning arresters for power systems. And it sounds like this is a very unique problem, and it appeared to me, which is very interesting to me in my investment strategy, that this is a worldwide problem. Or let me put it this way: that the protection for power stations around the world is probably the same. And there are probably just a few providers, and I like that. I like to be able to be very focused. It seems to me that the local potential and then the international potential is enough to build a really significant business. So early on in the presentation, I was in the back jumping up and down thinking, aha, we have an interesting investment here for me. And then I found out there was no prototype yet. So I need the company to get a little bit further so I know this is real. Right? Because at this point for me, it's still theoretical until I can see a prototype and know that it's actually working. I love the idea of a central database system. I need to understand a little bit more about that. Are you going to provide that? Is it going to be cloud-based? How exactly is that going to be managed? That is significantly more value than what the current competition is providing as you described it to me. And if my due diligence finds that that holds true, you may actually have significantly underpriced your offering. The device at 50K, that makes perfect sense. But if in fact all this data is being transmitted up to a central database that they can monitor, that they can look at history, that they can make immediate decisions on replacement, that's hugely valuable. I need a little bit more information also on what exactly is the IP protection. Is it on the concept? Is it on the clamp? Are there algorithms in the app that can be protected? So I need to know more about that, and I need to understand the state of the IP protection. Are there patents granted? Have they been applied for? Has international patenting been considered? I was a little bit disappointed in the estimate that the worldwide market is only 500 million ringgits. I look for a bigger potential than that. None of my portfolio companies have ever captured anywhere near close to an entire market. If they capture 10 or 20 or 50% of the market, that is absolutely fabulous. So if this is the worldwide total, and if you are able to capture 20% of the entire worldwide market, that means it's still only a 100 million ringgit company, which is just not big enough for me to make a really substantial investment. So I'd definitely want to take a look at more at the worldwide market. I understand that you're already talking to, I guess it's Tenaga Nacional and SESB. I'd like to know exactly where those activities stand, and in fact, I'd like to have a couple of contacts there that I could speak to myself and really understand what they have to say about your solution and the potential for it. I also understand you're talking about partnerships with TNB and ABB, and I'd like to know where those stand, and perhaps even have contacts there so I could understand firsthand what they're thinking also in terms of your solution. Let's see, and then I need to know a little bit more about the revenue and the profitability potential. Getting profitable within 2 years with only 45 units, that's pretty attractive. And so I'm impressed with the presentation. I'm impressed with the opportunity and the problem that you've attacked. And I definitely want to go to the next step. So when are we meeting?
Lunchtime. Good, but you didn't ask for that. All right, let me see if I can fill in a couple of additional places where I agree with Philip's feedback. My two primary concerns, intellectual property, and again, going back to the 5 DUIs rule, what's your golden nugget? How do you differentiate yourself from the competition? And two are the people. I didn't get a good sense for the team that you've got pulled together and why this team is special. One thought, just kind of separate, I didn't hear today, for example, I know that you mentioned to me offline, which doesn't count because I didn't hear it today, some of the information that you've got pulled together as far as the algorithm, and I would really like to hear as far as IP and golden nugget, because IP doesn't mean only patent. Although the only time I think I saw something identified in IP was in the clamp itself, which is patented, but I didn't know what. Is it the combination of the clamp and the Bluetooth? Does that mean that somebody else could do this on Wi-Fi or do 4G or something like that? So a little more information there, and information about the algorithm that you put together, given your line of research, and why that's so special. I think that would help me quite a bit. So going back to the hook, you explained how this can cause expensive damage. You talked about blackouts. I thought there was a little bit of a disconnect there because I do get the impression that you're selling to the utilities. And so I think you should be able to quantify what do those damages mean to them? How much damage is caused to the utility that they've got to repair every year in Malaysia, for example? Or do they have some kind of compensation structure? When the power goes up, they've got to compensate industry. I don't know if that's the case, but that would help understand the important need here. I thought great explanation of how it actually works. Great explanation of who you're specifically going after. I think you can quantify for me, again, as an investor, you're talking about current practice and how many man-days it takes to go through that whole process. I thought that was well thought out, and it was missing one thing. It just said man-days. And again, quantify that for me. Is it 2 man-days or is it 20? How much time are we actually saving here? One other potential opportunity. Again, I think there's a lot of clarity in your presentation. At one point you said, okay, and then you click something on the Bluetooth and then, and then it works. Well, maybe you can mock something up and really show. You push this button on the Bluetooth, and then what happens is, bink, bink, bink. Be specific. Quantify that as well. You know, one thing in your market slide, I made the same assumption that Philip did, that the numbers you were showing were in ringgit, but it was not at all clear on the slide. It could have been units, so make sure that you identify the units that you're describing. Is it number of units sold, or is it ringgit, or is it dollars? And again, as an investor, what I'd like to see is a little bit more on what, so here's your last slide. You're asking for 800,000. What is that going to do? So relate it back to the timeline and milestones, which I think you could probably improve maybe a little bit on the milestones. You did identify them. And then as I've done with the other companies who have presented today at Phillip Capital, I was doing a little tinkering around on the internet. And of course, there are others besides ABB that are providing the arresters. So GE, we might know that company, and Cooper Industries is another. And so I would want to clearly understand what is it that they're doing. Are they integrating these reading devices? Are they potential competitors for you, or are they potential partners? Okay, so that's my feedback. I have one feedback before I hand it over to Jennifer. All of the teams, a suggestion to you. None of you had any contact information on your last slide. You notice how I was purposely, even those of you who closed your presentation, I went and put your last slide back up. Because that's where you're ending, and that's where more Q&A is going to come in. Really important practice to put at least one person's contact name, the CEO or whoever the appropriate contact is, phone number and email. And you know what? It's up there for 15 minutes. And it's an opportunity for them to get it down. Of course, the first team handed out cards as well, also good practice. Yeah?
Okay, so we have a great team here at Phillip Capital. All right, I'm not going to repeat what my colleagues had to say. My comment on this one is speed to market. You have got to get this product to the market quickly. And when you showed the apps, I loved the complete picture of all the applications and all that it could do. But if you really can have that dramatic impact on savings in that process, even starting with the first basic application, will get your product into the market and get the utilities, one, doing business with you, and two, saving money. And as you bring out successive applications, they can save more money. You've got to get this into the market quickly. That also ties into my view on your business model. Your business model needs to be something more like the cell phone model. Have them buy whatever the hardware is that you want them to buy. But the database and all the brains should sit in the cloud. The thing about, and so they should subscribe to you every month. You can collect data worldwide. They can compare not only to their own history, but what's happening in other regions, first in Malaysia and then in the world. And by the way, the thing that's awesome about this from a scalability standpoint is utilities don't compete with each other. So you know what? They're happy to share their best practices with the fellow utilities. Now, and you'll also find some of them like to be first because they want to, pound on their chest, I'm the smartest utility in the country, and say, look at me. Others are what I call fast followers. They want to see what the big guys do, and they go, oh, well, if it works for them, they just get right in behind them and get into line. You've got to get this into the market, start small, know that you're going to add more apps, come up with a subscription model on this, which gives you continuing revenue. So that, because see, if you just sell them a device, and for, wow, 50,000 ringgit sounds like a lot of money, but once you've sold it, you're done. Let's not be done. And this way it keeps your engineers developing products and stuff like that. So I actually think you've got the potential for a really interesting business here. You need some work on the model, okay? And your money raising was actually quite successful today. you literally walked away with 110,000 ringgit, and you have access to an additional 150,000 ringgit from those that said they were interested, 4 of which were professional investors, which probably have more money in their pocket. So you actually walked away with 260,000 ringgit accessible, which is 35% of your investment. So I think you got a very positive response from the investors today. So, and what I'd say is put the pedal to the metal. That's the analogy we use in the US, which means hit the accelerator and move faster. Good job, team.
Can I add up a little bit? So you can see here from the investor point of view, before they invest, you'd like to see the actual things, right? So for example, the prototype itself. Okay, this is what we have identified through the value of debt last time, where we asked the inventor or the researcher to present to the potential funders and so on. So they consider about the risk factors. So if you have the prototype and so on, then they will consider it better, right? So in that case, if you have the product ready and you have the lab prototype, so please come to ICC. Then we can assist you in developing the working prototype and the presentable prototype to the investor. So these are the first steps that you need to do if you have a product that needs to have a prototype. So please come to ICC and we'll try to assist you. Thank you.